Hello there. Just check we're good there. Yeah, looks good. Bright sun tonight in my face. Sorry, I'm kind of startled in the headlights there. The class that we're going to do tonight will be mainly around the back, actually. So the back of the body in terms of a little bit of warming, a little bit of stretching, but the main focus will be to strengthen around the back of the pelvis, around the lower back, around the mid back, around the lower rib area, upper back, and a little bit into the neck as well. So I hope that that's going to be something that appeals to you this evening. And it's going to be fairly slow, so it's a great class actually if you've not done much yoga before. There's no fast-paced element to the class, so there's no need to feel like you've got to keep up and stay on track with doing lots and lots of postures. So we're going to do some slow postures, but they're targeted specifically for the purpose of strengthening the lower back area. So it looks like we're ready to go. Okay. Let me know if there are any issues that crop up. I'm hoping you can hear me and see me and all of those things. You'll see a little bit better when I move back out of the sun. Yeah, I'm not normally that bright in the face. I've not got that much makeup on. Okay, so with your space around your mat, you'll need a little bit of space towards the front end, where the end of the mat where you will place your feet actually, so top end, front end. And we're going to start off laid down this evening. So no props needed. If you've got a blanket, you can use one if you want to, but it's not essential. So come and join me and lay down on your back, and try to lay down with the hips roughly in the middle, so that we're not going to have the legs straight, but check that you have enough space to have the feet forward, so you're not going to kick anything. There's not going to be anything in your way. And then settle down onto the back of the body with the knees bent. So purposely keeping the knees bent for this class in preparation, and walk the feet wide. So walk the feet as wide as your mat, a little bit of space between the hip and the heel, and then allow the knees to drop inwards so you can relax your legs into each other and relax around your hips. Relax your lower back. And then rest your arms down by the side, and turning the palms to the sky, feel that a slight rotation, external rotation in the forearms below the elbow, and maybe a bigger rotation around the bicep. Feel the top of the front side of the shoulder, both shoulders, as you turn the palms to the sky, that the shoulder heads roll or rotate down. And then rest. So resting through the feet, legs, pelvis, chest, head, and then the arms, including the hands, once you've got yourself settled in. Okay. Let the head relax, and then relax your face, soften around your eyes to let the muscles around the eyes to release any expression, and the same with your mouth. So we'll take a few minutes preparation, almost like a contemplative practice, preparing for our class, noticing what you find as you allow yourself to be still, maybe a moment or two of reflection of your day. See how you feel. What's the energy? Maybe you've had to work really hard to find some time, make this time for yourself now, or maybe somebody in your life is allowing this to happen. A moment of thanks for your efforts or their efforts, for this opportunity and space. Notice your breathing, notice the breath at the nose. No particular breathing style needed for the class tonight, but allowing the breath to begin to flow freely. So there's no real effort involved apart from allowing the breath to be connected between the inhale, the exhale. Encourage the breath to move between the two parts. Notice any temptation or maybe a habit of holding the breath between the two parts of your breathing. Notice if that's something you have a tendency to do or feel that you want to do. Try and let the breath be free and flowing. And we're going to stay here, move into our first posture, or almost a posture, preparation really, I guess, more than a posture itself. And we're going to stay on our back to do this. So really simply reaching the fingertips towards the sky. So your arms extend straight out in front of you, fingers over shoulders, or that's the alignment of a vertical arm position. You can tell the day I've had today. Vertical arm position. And then we're going to cross the arms. Doesn't matter which way the arms are going to cross, but reaching to hold as if you're going to hold your shoulder blades or the back of your shoulders if you can't reach that far. Now I'm aware that the microphone is going to get shifted around a little bit here. So basically hug yourself with your arms. Let the elbows drop towards your chest. So you're kind of holding in tight with the whole arm, including your elbows. Let the elbows ease down into the lower chest area. And then once you've got your arms in place, you don't need to see anything on the screen, right? Because we're just going to stay here on the back and breathe with the arms embracing the chest. So notice the rise, notice the breath filling the chest, maybe noticing the breath filling around the belly too. And now when you breathe out, there's a softness around the rib cage. There's a way that the rib cage gently contracts as you breathe out. So notice the two parts of the breath again, the inhale expanding, the rib cage widening, and then notice that contraction or that dropping, and the arms will help you to feel that as you breathe out, the lower ribs drop down towards the floor. So keep breathing, keep going here. Notice the out breath. Feeling the lower ribs, not just the back, not just the back of the body, but the whole circumference of the lower rib area. Gently easing to the floor with each passing out breath. Let's take 2 more breaths here, feeling the out breath, feeling the body, lower ribs drop down as you breathe out. And then releasing your arms. We're not going to do the second side as such. We're just using that as a method to observe your breathing. Okay. So we're going to stay on our back for a little bit longer. With the knees still bent, you can walk the feet hip width just to make it a little bit more straightforward to transition now. We're going to extend the right leg with the right heel towards the sky. Now you can use your hands if it's useful around the back of your leg, but try to get your right leg as straight as you're able to. So there's a certain effort or an element of putting a muscle action, activate your muscles in your legs to do this. The leg might be further away because the hamstrings don't allow the leg to be completely vertical, but do your best to engage the leg, whichever position it is that you're in. Push the heel upwards Spread your toes and make the leg as straight as you can for your leg, even if the leg isn't all the way upright. And you can, like I say, use the hands for a little bit of support if needed. Now we are going to change the hand position, so see how it feels. And then extend the other leg, left heel forward. So basically both legs are as straight as you can get them. Both legs active, push both heels away, spread all of the toes away from each other. So basically just trying to activate right down to the feet and toes. And then gently hover the left heel. So the left heel is just lifted off the floor. It doesn't matter how high you're going. It doesn't have to be high. Just activating the leg. Draw the belly button in towards the spine and pulling the lower ribs down. All of the lower ribs down towards the mat. Now reaching the arms over from the level of your shoulders. If you've got space, reaching all the way back behind. Now, if you can't get your hands to the floor, that's okay. Just extend out as much as you can through the fingertips and through the heels. Arms as straight as you can. One more breath. And then as you release your arms. Gently bend the knees, feet to the floor. Take a pause. We held that for a fairly long time there. By the time we'd built the posture up, and then working with the arms as well makes it a little bit more challenging. So lower rib awareness in order to help strengthen around the lower back. With the spine extended, that's what we're looking to do, is strengthen and extend the lower back area. Okay, second side. We'll lift the left heel to the sky, extend the leg, make it as straight as you can. Activate the leg, push the heel upwards, spread the toe. So already feeling an activation through the leg, the whole leg, the thigh muscles feeling firm. You can use your hands and you can begin to extend your right leg. Right heel forward, flex the ankles, spread the toes, hover the right heel. And then lower ribs sink down. So keep the lower ribs connected to the mat. Obviously the back ones, the front ribs still down as well. Reach the hands and arms out overhead. Nice and slowly and steadily. So extend the arms, make them as straight as you can, whilst keeping the lower ribs pulled in. One more breath. Let's release the arms. Gently bend the knees, bring the feet to the floor. Relax the belly. Okay, let's roll over to one side to bring yourself gradually and slowly all the way up. Okay, so we're going to move on to our hands and knees. Bringing the knees directly underneath the hips. And make sure again you have some space to extend your legs out behind. And you've got your wrists underneath your shoulders. So you're in this tabletop shape. You can pad up under the knees if you need to bring something on the floor under your knees. Find an even sense of weight between the two hands, between the two knees, and between the hands and knees. So there's a sense of being connected equally through the hands and knees, balanced on the two sides. Now, apart from when you're looking up, if you need to look at the screen, try to keep your gaze down between your thumbs. So keep the neck extended and consider this line between or from the very top of the head. So as if you had a rod down the full length of your spine coming out the top of your skull. So notice that when the head drops down or if we look forward, that changes the line of the neck. So for most people, that to me describes the back of the neck as reaching towards the sky, the back of the neck lifting up. And then the same around your mid to upper back between the shoulder blades. Notice any sagging. You want to push into the floor, draw the shoulder blades away from each other. And it's not quite rounding in the upper back, but what you're trying to do is create a sense of strength. Well, it is actually strengthening around your mid to upper back rather than collapsing down, right? So pushing into the floor, engaging around the upper back muscle area, and then the same with the lower back. So notice any tilt of pelvis that affects the line of your spine. Draw the belly button in, pull the front ribs in towards the spine. And although we're not really doing that much from a physical point of view, feel that you're actively working to create this line, and that sense of activation might be quite evident now in the hands and arms, especially if you're quite weak around your shoulder areas. So keep pushing the floor away. And you might feel that you have to work quite hard, and you might be doing both areas, or you might be doing lots at once, but the belly button in towards the spine. And notice the length of your lower back area, especially if you have a tendency to be quite curved in the lower back. If you're quite flexible in your lower back, this might be quite tough. And now we're going to keep pressing into the hands and feet, tuck the toes. We're going to press into the hands and feet and then just hover the knees. So just a fraction away from the floor. And that will challenge all of those areas even more. And you can come back down to the knees if you need to. So you can choose this level of practice for yourself, but keep working to keep the spine long. The muscles at the back of the spine, around the sides and back of the spine, all working really hard to stabilize. And stabilizing with an awareness of what's going on. Now we're going to take a rest. So bring the knees down, untuck the toes, send the hips towards the heels, and then resting through the hands. So if your head can get to the floor, you might want to reach the hands back, the arms by the side body, or if you are hovering, if the head's in the air, you can use your hands to rest the head onto. But take a few moments to rest arms, hands, shoulders, lower back, and the neck too. So if we can get the head down, relax the neck. Take this as a little recovery or rest. And we're going to repeat some of those elements with some add-on. Make it perhaps a little bit challenging, or once you've got an awareness of your alignment, it might just be that you're activating more. So again, you can choose how far you go with these postures and whatever your experience needs to be, your practice needs to be this evening. Let's come onto the hands and knees again. So bring yourself up onto all fours in your own time. Wrists under shoulders, knees under the hips. Press the hands down. Alignment of the spine, activating around the mid, upper mid, lower back area, neck included actually as well, neck as well. So this time we're going to keep, at this point, the left knee down, and now just extend your right leg. So tuck the right toes under, extend the right leg. Notice any change in the pelvis, tilt as you extend the leg. You want to create a straight line from your shoulder, on a diagonal line from your shoulder down to your hip, down to your right heel, like a half plank, kind of half plank, right? Now we're going to tuck the left toes and just hover the left knee. So the same with the left side as what we did in the previous posture. If you find that you're completely collapsing around your upper back, and your lower back for that matter, then bring your left knee back down to the floor and work on alignment. And it's maybe after this class, or maybe if you find it's quite tough, you could practice working on alignment before you add the strength element. So the strength is to hover the knee. Let's keep going here. If you're hovering the knee, 2 more breaths. And then exhale, release to bring both knees down. Let's stretch back to child pose again and take the head and arms however you wish. Just for a rest, a few breaths rest. And then slowly coming all the way up. Back onto the hands and knees. So of course we're going to go to the second side, which in this case is going to be left leg extended, tuck the left toes, alignment, awareness. Think about neck, upper back, mid back, and lower back. Check that you haven't arched your back as you've extended the leg out. So lower back lengthens. Tuck the back toes, so right toes, and you can hover the knee if you're ready to go for this tonight. So you're hovering your right knee and extending out through your left leg. Push through the left heel, strong and straight through the arms. Check the head position. Steady breaths. One more. Exhale and then release. And again, sit back or stretch back into child pose, however you prefer the arms. Try and rest through the spine. Obviously the arms are tired, but resting through the spine as well. Okay, we're going to take some weight away from the wrists a little bit. Now it's still a posture with the hands on the floor. So we're going to set up downward dog posture. Start off in exactly the same way, tabletop position, hands shoulder width, because the wrists are still underneath the shoulders, and the knees hip width because they're underneath the hips too. Tuck the toes, just a light tucking of the toes. Press into the hands, and this is where we hover the knees again. I like to move into downward dog in the slow way. It helps just think about alignment as we're moving, not just the final destination. So hover the knees, inhale, long spine from neck down to pelvis, and then pressing the chest back as the hips begin to lift slightly. Keeping the knees bent. We'll keep the knees bent for a few breaths. And feel you can press the chest towards your thighs, or your abdomen and chest towards your thighs. Hips up high, hips high. And for this posture, release the neck. So let the head hang. Don't feel you have to tuck the chin in or anything, but let the neck release the head. A little bit of traction through the spine as the head is heavy. And then lifting, if your legs allow, lifting the hips a little bit higher, depending on your hamstrings, what they are going to allow you to do this evening. And some of you will find the heels go lower. And don't force that action if that doesn't come easy, or if it feels intense. No problem, knees bent. Extending the spine is what I want you to find. Keep pushing the weight away from your hands. Now we're going to walk the hands back. So we're going to take the weight into the feet, only with the feet hip width or slightly wider than that. Just a comfortable stance through your feet. A soft bend in the knees. And now I'm going to turn just to show you. It's not a huge deal to show you, I guess, but I'm going to turn. In your folded position, take the hands into a fist and nestle each fist into the crook of the inner elbow. And then, in your folded position, try and relax your neck.
So the head basically hangs in the space framed by the arms, but now push the hands into the crook of the elbow. So pushing the hands outwards, and see if you can widen across your shoulders. So pushing into that crook of the elbow, or in the bicep, almost the bicep, isn't it? So we're folded, relaxed in the belly, around the thighs and lower back, but a little bit more active in the shoulders. 2 more breaths. And then releasing the arms. Let the arms and hands hang wherever that is. Doesn't have to be on the floor. And then we'll slowly begin to bring the hands to the hips. Inhale. Begin to look forward, gaze forward and rise up to stand. We've been down there a little while, so take it easy if you feel a bit dizzy. Okay, so come up and step to the top of your mat, almost the top of your mat actually. Have some space to fold forward if you need it. We're going to fold and move up and down into chair pose a few times. Again, feet hip width apart. When you're moving into chair posture, try to keep your knees the same distance as your feet are apart. Okay, and standing tall. Before we do chair pose, standing tall in this upright mountain posture, and think about the spine. So check that the lower back isn't arched, lengthen the back of the pelvis. We're not looking for a flat spine, we're looking for an extended spine. So for most people, drawing the belly button in towards the spine helps to lengthen the back of the pelvis down, and then standing tall. So the other part of the body obviously is shoulders tend to round. And what happens is sometimes when people try to pull their shoulders back, they arch the lower back. So lengthen the back of the pelvis, pull the belly button in slightly, shoulders back. And then one more thing to check is the lower ribs haven't flared forward. So check that your front lower ribs are pulling in. Extend and reach the arms overhead. So do your best to get the arms straight, even if that means going slightly, well, quite a bit wider. You can go wider with your hands. So get them straight. Check that the shoulders are staying down from your ears. And if you're reaching right overhead, check you haven't arched your back as a consequence of reaching up. If your shoulders are tight, sometimes the movement moves into the lower back or around the lower rib area. And keep looking forward rather than upwards. So lengthen the crown of the head to the sky, fingertips to the sky, and the feet rooting down, especially into the heels, right? So actively pushing into the floor with the heels. Inhale. And then begin to move the hips back. The knees are going to come forward, of course, as you do that. And the arms stay reaching as overhead as you can keep them. You don't have to get the thighs parallel to the floor, but try to keep the knees the same width as your feet. One more breath here. And then breathing out, we're going to fold down. So this becomes a little rest or release. So folding down, knees slightly bent, tuck the chin. Inhale, bring the hands to the shins. Lengthen the spine. So extension through the spine and neck. And then breathing out and fold. So each time you're folding, getting the spine a bit warmer, muscles around the spine warmer, and just see how it feels. And we're going to bend the knees more, chair pose on the way up. So reaching up again with the arms, gaze forward, knees the width of your feet. And then we're going to inhale, exhale fully. Inhale, rise up to standing. And exhale the hands to the chest. Okay, so we're going to repeat that little chair pose sequence 2 more times. So start off standing tall. We're going to take about 3 breaths.
in each posture, or in each chair pose actually, only the chair pose and mountain pose. Okay, standing tall, alignment, awareness of spine, pelvis, low back, check lower ribs, shoulder area, neck. Gaze forward as you reach up overhead with your arms as overhead to overhead as much as you can. If it's not directly, if your hands are not directly over your shoulders, no problem, no biggie. Arms as straight as you can. Inhale. Weight into the heels as you lower the hips with the arms still reaching as overhead as you can keep them. Keep breathing. Inhale again, and then exhale. It's a fold, releasing down, soften the knees, relax the neck. Inhale, coming up halfway or thereabouts, hands to the shins, long spine, gaze forward, check the position of your head. So the gaze allows the length of the neck to be the same or aligned to the same as the rest of your spine. Fold as you breathe out, back in and down to the legs. Bend the knees, prepare chair pose. Gradually reaching up and overhead as much as you're able to. Again, pull the belly button in. Check that the lower ribs are not sticking out too much, which might mean bringing your hands or arms lower to account for that. Again, no problem. I want you to stay motivated to continue these challenging postures in your own space, right? It's easy to stop. No one's watching, right? Inhale, stand and rise. Reach overhead. Exhale, hands to chest. Let's take a little pause before we do our last one. If it's too intense, and not just physically intense, if emotionally it's intense and it's hard to keep going, motivation isn't there. Back off the posture a bit, make it a little bit easier. Do what feels right in order to stay in your practice. Okay, third and final chair pose sequence. Gradually reaching overhead with your arms, back of the pelvis down, lower front ribs in, arms extended, possibly overhead, gaze forward. Inhale. Weight to the heels as you lower the hips down. Keep your arms extended as much as you can. This is a tough posture. You can probably hear that in my breath, just the way you can hear it in your own breath. One more, inhale. Exhale, fold. Well done. All the way down, just to relax, really, mainly. Inhale, gaze forward, halfway, hands at shins or outer legs. Check that the neck is in line with your spine. Breathe out, fold and hang the head. So let the head release, the neck release the head. Bend the knees. One more chair. 3 breaths, just 3 breaths. Reaching up with the arms. Really great for strengthening around the shoulder girdle, the back of the shoulders, mid-back. You can feel it in the back of the pelvis as well. Of course, your thighs, doing lots of work. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, the hands to the chest. Excellent work. Okay, we're going to stay standing. We're going to take a tree pose. Okay, I'm going to mirror image the posture if it's useful, and so you could face the camera as well. So not the camera, face the laptop or screen, whatever you're using. So plant your left foot, spread the left toes, stand tall. Of course, when we're balancing in any kind of posture that's a balance, you want to think about your alignment of your spine. It's basically a mountain posture with a few fancy different arm positions and leg positions. So start off with the hands at the hips, and let's bring the right foot somewhere to the inside of the leg, either above or below the knee, not the knee itself. So you can press the leg, a foot into the leg if you're able to, and you have to press to get to stay there, especially if you're practicing the foot really high up into the thigh. So the foot presses in, stand tall, and reach the hands wide tonight. Shoulder height if you can. Feel the space of your ribs, belly. Slow the breath down. And before we relax and stop, what I'd like you to do is inhale, reach up a little bit higher, maybe overhead. Keep the arms as straight as you can, shoulders down from the ears. Inhale. Exhale, hands to chest. And then gently ease yourself from the posture. Prepare the second side. Spread the toes on the right foot. Hands at the hips if it's easier. Stand tall, lifting up and out of your right hip joint. Bring the left foot into the right leg, pressing inwards. Pressing to keep the foot in place. Arms, hands, shoulder height. And the shoulders down. This is a nice posture to encourage the shoulders to stay down. Long neck, long spine, whole spine in fact. Lots of space to breathe around your ribs and your belly. Stand tall and proud. Inhale the arms overhead. Shoulders stay down, and the arms might not go directly over, hands might not go over your shoulders. But if that's the case, keep the arms as straight as you can make them. If you cannot get them over the shoulders, keep them straight anyway. Inhale. Grow tall. Exhale, hands to chest. And then releasing the second side. Okay. Let's step to the top of your mat. Have the feet hip width apart. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. We know this. Don't worry, we're not going to do chair pose. Exhale and fold. So we're going to go straight into a folded position. Now you might need to bend the knees a bit more in order to get the hands to come in contact with the mat. So if that means the floor is hard to reach, it's a long way down, bend your knees, no bother. And then we're going to step back onto the hands and knees. Wrists under shoulders, tabletop position. Make sure your shoulders are directly over your wrists. I'm going to walk the knees back slightly from the level of the hips, actually. I don't know if I said that wrong a minute ago. But walking the knees back slightly, so not quite tabletop, actually. Extend the spine. Extend through the crown of your head, neck, upper mid, and lower back. Check the tilt of the pelvis to check that the lower front ribs draw in towards the spine. Now, tuck any toes, whichever leg, one leg, because we're going to do both. Tuck the toes. Now, you can keep the knees down if you need to. We're going to hold a plank position, but keeping the breath moving.
And we want to keep the spine long. So again, notice any collapsing around the lower mid-back or between the shoulder blades. If that's happening and you can't control it, bring the knees down and control. So find control, alignment, and then activation. If you're ready for activation, strengthening, but still breathing. Good work, guys. One more breath in. And then exhale, downward dog. Hips move back. You might need to bring the feet in slightly, pressing the chest back. You can keep the knees bent. Remember, you can also lengthen the heels down. So if you notice that your mid-lower back is rounding when your legs are straight, I would definitely recommend bending your knees so the hips can lift up higher. Look forward. We're going to bring the right foot between the hands. If that's not done easily through stepping, you can use your right hand to bring the foot forward. Tuck the back toes again. Extend the back leg. Have the left hand on the floor. So if it's fingertips, no problem. You can also have the palm flat if it's possible for you to reach with the hand flat to the floor. Extend the spine. So again, think extension through the crown of the head, down through the spine to the back of the base of your pelvis. Not the back of the pelvis, the very base of your pelvis. Inhale here. And then exhale as you twist to the right. So you're twisting to the bent leg. Exhale as you twist. Inhale to bring the right hand down and lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, twist. Two more. Inhale, long spine, crown of the head. Exhale, twist. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, hand down, right hand down, step back to downward dog. Pause, downward dog, still breathe. Left foot between the hands. And again, you can bring your right knee down and scoot the foot forward with your hand if needed. But eventually tuck the right toes. So in a high lunge position, hands initially on the floor. You definitely want to have your right hand down, some way connected to the mat. Long spine, long in the back of the neck. Remember, don't let the head drop and don't look forward. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, twist to the left. Inhale as you turn down, but extend the spine. Exhale, twisting. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale to bring the hands down, step back to downward dog. And then lowering the knees to the floor. When you lower down, you're going to turn onto your back. So you can face whichever way works best for you.
Okay, we're going to have the feet on the floor, the knees bent again. And you want to have your shins about vertical if you can. So basically not to have your feet so far forward, but you can get them closer into your hips. You can get heels in closer. You might want to do that. Feet hip width, knees hip width. Take a few moments of pausing, take a rest. Turn the palms to the sky. Rotate the shoulder heads down. Once that happens, relax into the back of the head and neck. Relax the chest down. Let the lower ribs drop down. And then relax into the natural curve of the lower back. So don't force the back into the floor, but allow the spine to come to its natural shape and form. With the pelvis heavy and the feet heavy. Now we're not quite finished. We are going to do some active postures whilst laid down again. And the first one, going to be bridge pose with a few variations to work on strengthening the back. Strengthening, and I guess also it's more about control. Obviously, we need strength to be in control of how our body moves, right? So it's the subtle practices of strength rather than the strength of an exercise class as such. Keep the spine long. So back of the neck is extended, which to me means avoid lifting the chin and avoid tucking the chin right in. Expect obviously the natural curve around the back of the neck, which means that there should be a space between the back of the neck and the mat. It's useful to feel that actually, if it's necessary, if it's useful, do that. The neck is long. We're going to keep the feet flat to the floor, hip width apart. And then we're going to begin to bridge the hips up. So you're lifting the hips. Now, don't worry how high you're going. Higher doesn't necessarily mean better, but go as high as you're able to, which will make it better for you, right? So it's about wherever your body is allowing you to move to, because you want to be able to lift the hips and stabilize, right? We're going to keep the hips lifted for a little while. And what you can do to help keep a little bit more control with the legs here is to take the hands and hold the edges, outside edges of your mat. And I don't know if it's a push or a pull. I was trying to work it out before I did the class. You want to move your hands away from your shoulders, so your hands are moving closer to your feet, and see if you can get your arms to straighten out. So as you grab the edges of your mat, straighten your arms, and you might find you get a little bit more lift in your chest. Your shoulders should feel probably a little bit more connected to the mat. Okay, we're still holding the hips up at the same time here, so check out how that's feeling. Steady breaths. Try to keep the knees the same width as your feet. That can be quite tough actually. So when the hips go up, people tend to splay the knees wider. So shoot your thigh bones forward rather than wider out to the side. So forward through your knees. Gonna take a big breath in here. And then slowly releasing upper, mid, and lower back. You can release your hands, back of the pelvis eventually down to the floor. So you can relax your arms and hands as you rest the back of the pelvis to the mat. Okay, so 2 more variations of bridge coming up. You can stay with this first option, or you can try the second options more or less to an extent that feels most appropriate for you. So let's start off, bridge the hips up again. See how it feels to get the hips up, maybe getting a bit tighter in the back. Use the hands as well to help stabilize. So you're extending your arms, maybe the chest lifts. Check the neck is still happy here. That does add a little bit of neck stretch, which is okay if it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, then go lower or stop the posture when needed. Now we're going to lift the right foot just a tiny bit off the floor and notice if the pelvis drops. So keeping the hips to a position that you can stabilize in and hold as you float the right foot. Now I say float because we're not going very high, just skimming off the surface of your mat. Try to keep both sides of your pelvis level. Inhale
And then release the right foot down. We're going to keep the hips in place. We're not going to the mat. Inhale, lift the left foot. Hover. Actually, try not to lift the left foot too high at all. So it becomes less about the effort of your thigh and stays around the lower back and pelvis area. It's tempting, and I realized I did that on the first side myself, to lift the leg higher, and the leg took over instead. Stabilize. Release the left foot. Exhale the lower, upper, mid, lower, and pelvis down. Release your hands and arms. Take a few breaths. And then you can imagine, since we've got one more variation to do here, that the last variation could be a little bit more challenging if you want it to be. Okay, so same form, the wise feet and legs, arms the same. Bridge the hips up. Use the hands, extend the arms. So remember, your hands are moving towards your feet. So you're pulling away or pushing away from your shoulders. Stabilize the hips. Now, keep the legs at the level they are. Don't move the thigh. And instead of lifting the foot and knee upwards, you're just going to kick the foot, right foot forward. So your right thigh is level with your left thigh, which means your right hip is level with your left hip. So we haven't got up, just forward. Just forward, steady breaths, left leg working hard, 2, 1. And release the foot down. First, we'll lower down this time between the two sides and pause. We're not going to rest for too long. We've got the second side coming up. Press to the feet, bridge the hips, push the hands forward. Stabilize the pelvis. When you're ready, kick the left foot forward. Try and spread the toes, left hip level with right hip. Stabilize. Inhale. Release the foot down first, and then lower upper, mid, lower back, and pelvis to the floor. Well done. Relax your hands as well. Okay, so just check you have enough space either side of your mat. We're not going really, really wide, but see if you can get your elbows, with the elbows bent, the arms and elbows bent out to the side with your elbows at shoulder height, if you can. Start off with the knees bent, elbows bent. Press your elbows down and press your shoulders down into the mat and draw your lower ribs, both back, front and sides, down. So pressing down through your arms, but notice how your ribs might lift. So once you're pressing down through your arms and shoulders, try and also press down through your lower ribs. So you're allowing or encouraging them to stay down. You'll feel that natural activation around your abdomen. And then lift your feet. Lift your feet so that the knees bend about 90 degrees. Shins are horizontal, as close to that as you can. And again, do a little lower rib check. Pull it down, lower ribs pull down. Press the arms down, inhale. The legs are going to move to the right, but not to the floor. So you want to keep using your arms. It's more of a core strengthener than a twist. It's core and back strengthener. Your lower front ribs feel like they're dropping down still, even though they want to lift up on the left side. Now they're going to move. You're going to move around your rib cage. Pressing your arms down. Pressing your shoulders down. And stay in control. You can make the movement less. Steady breaths. Glue that left shoulder to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, release. Come to center with the legs and the pelvis. Reaffirm the arms. Check you're still shoulder height. Press down elbows and shoulders. Inhale. Exhale. Hover over to the left. So it's actually just a small movement. Lower ribs down. Stay in control of the legs. Press down through your arms. Press down to the lower rib area. Belly button pulls in. One more breath. And then exhale to release. And this time we're going to let the legs rock over to the right, but relaxing twist this time. Let the legs relax down. Take your right hand and hold the left thigh. Let your left arm now, well, it doesn't have to be straight, but allow it to settle down, but without the effort of forcing it back to the head, to the left side. Let the legs rest. Maybe the feet down, even if the knees are not down. Let the feet touch to make it more restful, which might mean the shoulder lifts, and that's okay. You're finding this sort of balance between the legs and arm, shoulder resting as much as possible. So find the best way to achieve that and relax your abdomen here as well. And then we're going to release this twist, or the relaxed twist, easy twist posture, over to the left side with the legs. Right shoulder settles, left hand holds the top left leg, right leg. And then turn the head to the right side. And we've done a little bit of work with the neck. We've got one more thing to do with the neck here. We've done a few movements with the neck, of alignment, awareness of neck. One more thing before we give the neck a little stretch. So let's come onto the back body all together with the feet down again. And I'd like you to take your arms by the side, shoulders towards the mat. So again, palms to the floor, shoulders down, shoulder blades are almost flattening to the floor. And although the chest is then lifted up a little bit, settle the chest back down, settle the chest, including the lower ribs. Now, alignment of neck, lengthening in the back of the neck without tucking the chin too much and without lifting the chin up. So think about how your spine and neck felt when you were on all fours, where you centered the head without the head dropping down and without looking forward. It's the same alignment, but it's just the other way up. It's harder to feel, I think, for most people, or you might find it's useful because you can use the mat or the earth as a reference to the shape, which is good, which is fine, whatever. Remember, there's definitely going to be a space at the back of the neck. That's what we want, but we're going to strengthen the head and neck area around the base of the skull anyway, not the whole head, the base of the skull and the neck. And all it is, really simply, not loads and loads of effort, but an awareness to press the head into the floor. So press the back of your skull into the mat. And as you do that, you'll feel the strengthening action. You can maybe hear it in my voice because I'm gently squeezing the base of my throat too, slightly. It just seems to activate the base of my throat. Keep pressing down for 3 more breaths. Just a gentle activation of neck. Don't use the head that much and the neck that much like this. So this is quite unusual. And then releasing the activation and effectively just relaxing into the same shape, but not pushing the head down. So release and relax. And we're going to stay with the feet heavy, pelvis heavy, the upper part of the chest heavy,
And then interlace the fingers behind the back of the skull to cradle and support the head fully. Elbows in towards each other just for a little bit of support around the side of the head. And see if you can lift the head, well, as much as you need to actually, but lifting the head. But once the head is lifted, let the arms and hands do the work. So see if you can cradle the head enough to let the neck relax and the neck lengthen, and possibly feel a little bit of a stretch in the neck. But we're not purposely pulling the chin in as such. We're letting the weight of the head rest in the hands. This is like a little bit like a posture we do with the belt. I think it's called head cradle, actually. Yeah, leg head cradle or something like that. But it has this really lovely, and this is the same idea. It has this really lovely effect of allowing the head to just go with gravity, and the weight of the skull is very heavy. We hold it around, haul it around on the top of our neck all day, every day, of course, and it's pretty tiring for the neck muscles. So this is a nice softening approach. Give the neck a little bit of space and weight, free time, some air time. So remember, just the hands are doing the work of lifting, but not necessarily pulling the chin in as such. It's just cradling the head for a few more breaths. If you like it, it feels good, go for it. Go a little bit longer. If you're ready to stop, of course, you can rest at any time. Imagine that you could create more space between the vertebra of your neck, of each vertebra in the neck area. The neck can grow longer and you can grow taller. Eventually gently lower the head down. So place the head with a long spine, a long neck. So place the head down with an alignment that feels good, it feels useful, it feels long. And once the head comes down, you can keep the head heavy here and relaxed. We're going to stay and stretch with the legs a little bit longer, but the head itself can rest now, the neck can rest. Lift the feet from the floor. And we're going to try this in two ways. First option is to cross the shins and see if you can hold the outer edge of each foot. So you can cross the shins, flex the ankles, and draw the legs and the feet in towards you to stretch into the outer hip. So this is option one. Option two, if you can make it, is to stack the knees. So you can actually stack the cross above your knees. So you can cross up below your knees or above your knees. And if you're able to, again, keep holding the outer edges of the feet. Feet are wide, but you're encouraging the lower legs and feet to move towards your upper body. So it's like you're hugging the legs in. For 3 more breaths. Option 1 or 2, good, whatever suits your needs today. Try to keep the head and shoulders relaxed down. Keep the back of the pelvis down, lower ribs down, sinking the body and beginning to move into a softer place towards relaxation. Let's relax and rest. We're going to cross the opposite leg on top. Doesn't matter which side you started with. I don't think I said, so whatever you've done is great. Crossing the legs with or above or below the knees, whatever feels good for your body. Sometimes one side's easier than the other. Feet are wide, but the legs draw in towards you, and you can try and achieve that with the back of the pelvis on the mat. Shoulders and head down. Feel like you can widen the back of the pelvis and the lower back. Gently releasing to keep the legs in towards the upper body, but just uncrossing. And you can hold the shins or hold the back of the thighs, hug the legs in. Find a sense of evenness through the back of the pelvis, between the two sides. Check then that the spine is aligned to, not necessarily straight because we don't come in straight lines, but you feel there's a sense of evenness between the line of your shoulders and your hips, and usually that means the spine is level for you, so it feels like it's leveling out. And then eventually we're going to rest now to bring the feet down to the mat with or without the legs bent. So you can keep the knees bent. You might like to take the feet wide with the knees in, or if you've got your legs extended, you can have your feet wide as your mat, thighs away from each other, and the arms resting. Again, shoulder heads towards the mat, palms towards the sky, resting down to the lower ribs, resting down towards the mat. Again, natural curve at the lower back and the back of the neck. And then if you haven't already, begin to close your eyes and feel the whole body beginning to drop. Beginning to connect with the sense of weight through the feet, through the lower legs. Through the back of the pelvis. Relaxed around the lower back and relaxed around your abdomen. Back of the chest. Front of the chest, all dropping down naturally as you lie heavy. So without the effort of doing that anymore, feeling rested. Feel the weight across your upper chest and shoulders, across the upper arms, down the arms, right down to the hands, fingers. And then again, check the neck is soft to release the head. And as the head lies heavy, releasing tension at the skin or the scalp, the hair, across the back of the head, the sides of the head, across over the top of the head, and down into your forehead, relaxing the forehead, the skin on the face, around the temples, the eyebrows, the eye sockets, the eyelids. Encourage the eyeballs to become still, softening the cheeks, softening the mouth and the lips and the tongue. Let the tongue drop. Let the jaw release the mouth. Slowly begin to bring awareness back into sensation of weight in the body, the weight at the back of your head and chest, and trace down the pelvis and down into your legs. And so gradually bringing your awareness fully back, noticing your breath as you do so. Beginning to move and wake through the hands and feet, the fingers and toes moving. And moving the hands and the legs, eventually bending the legs into your chest again, and maybe use the arms and wrap the arms around your legs, or draw the thighs close in towards your upper body as you stretch out the lower back. Rock and roll around on the back of the body a few times to loosen out. Or maybe even just checking in here as you're moving. Maybe some of the muscles will feel tired after the practice. Maybe feel alive or awake after the practice, but notice what you find. Gently rolling over to one side, pause on the side body. And then gently using your hands to bring yourself up, let the head hang down gently as you pull yourself back to an upright position. Sit tall, lifting your lower back and lifting your chest. So shoulders back as you lift your chest. Balance the head. Take a few steady breaths as you wake up fully. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for your perseverance and your efforts. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.